Joining us now is Aaron David Miller, Carnegie Endowment for International Peace Senior Fellow and former Arab-Israeli negotiator, also has a book on America's elusive search for Arab-Israeli peace. It's good to have you. What do you think the U.S. does? Do you think it ultimately enters in some military form?
Look, I think the president confronts a dilemma, as do the Israelis and the Iranians. He does not want to enter this war. It's got too many uncertain consequences, but at the same time, he can't end it. And in a way, he's in a box. And I think what you see reflected in his statements and his actions, including the 11th hour departure from Calgary last night, highly orchestrated, urging all Iranians to leave Tehran. He still doesn't want to go to war, so they're trying to come up with a diplomatic off-ramp, maybe using the vice president and his friend Stephen Witkoff. Hard to imagine, though, while Israeli attacks continue, and while the Iranians don't want to give in, that diplomatic off-ramp is going to be anything other than a key to an empty room.
I mean, the president has been very consistent on Iran. They cannot have a nuclear weapon. So is Israel able to achieve that, I guess, is one question, without the U.S., or is it just inevitable that the U.S. enters?
You know, Sarah, the last four presidents have also made it unmistakably clear, repeatedly clear, consistently clear that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon.
They failed.
Right. And frankly, as a consequence of Mr. Trump's decision in 2018 to withdraw from a flawed but highly functional agreement which restrained and constrained Iran's pretensions to get a weapon, the Iranians are now closer than ever. So you now have a crisis without an opportunity. Yeah, we could go in using the bunker busters, the GBU-57 bombs carried only by B-2 Spirit bombers, 20,000-pound bombs, 20 feet long, drop 6 or 7 of those on the main enrichment facility at Fordo, and you could probably destroy it. The problem, of course, is how does that end the program? Without occupying Iran and literally forcing some sort of regime change, which would be a disaster, it seems to me, you're now faced with neither a black or white solution. So you have three options here. Number one, the Israelis continue to do what they're doing without destroying the program. Second, against all odds, you end up with some kind of diplomatic off-ramp. Or third, the administration basically succumbs to Israeli pressures to basically enter the war, and that will deal the program a considerable, perhaps even a fatal blow for now. But again, oil's going to go over $100 a barrel. You're going to end up with Iranian strikes against American forces and likely against Saudi infrastructure. And again, where is the end state here? That's the problem, both with Israel's policies and ours.
Meantime, the question will be how much infrastructure is vulnerable in the meantime. Journal's got a piece up right now saying the two oil tankers collided in the Gulf of Oman, not because of any issues with the straits being blocked, but just because so many transmissions are being jammed by both sides in this conflict. That's troublesome for oil, or it might be.
I mean, it's a critical point. Without closing the Straits of Hormuz, which the U.S. would open at some cost, the Iranians have all sorts of asymmetrical policies to pursue to create confusion. Look at the Red Sea. Look what the Houthis have done. They basically have forced international shipping to raise its costs, and instead of going through Suez, which has cost the Egyptians hundreds of millions of dollars in toll revenues, they've got to go around the Cape of Good Hope, which adds another 3 weeks to those trips, jacks up insurance rates and increases the cost of consumer goods. So again, Iran should not have a nuclear weapon. This is a terrible regime. It prosecutes, imprisons, tortures its citizens. But there are no good responses here. And that's the dilemma for this administration. And I worked for half a dozen Republicans and Democrats. it's been their dilemma as well.